Hi, my name is Steven and welcome back to my channel, and today I'm going to be talking to you about staying humble, ways to remember your financial roots. As we get older and wiser in life, we tend to have more experience and knowledge about what we do, and we gain insight on how the world works financially or otherwise. The more we know about work and how to make money, the better we are financially. And through that knowledge, we have better work, housing, and entertainment options at our disposal. But over time, as we get inundated with a new lifestyle, we might forget where we came from financially. When we make more money as an adult, we tend to forget about our childhood roots when we didn't have a lot of money. This was certainly the case for me, and we might start to do things that we otherwise wouldn't do as a child. I wanted to make this video to talk about how do we stay humble when we gain financial success in our lives. Because at the end of the day, we have to stay humble about who we are and where we came from. Because as soon as I started to gain things in my life without hassle, I started to forget about the troubles and issues I had in my childhood. And linked to that is also the drive to strive for better and more. You can say that I've gotten comfortable in my current lifestyle at times. But by staying humble, you can ground your present self into your past life and help you ultimately to stay true to who you are. So in today's video, I'm going to talk about my background, my guide to staying humble, and my general thoughts. And before we start, be sure to like, subscribe, comment, share with your friends, hit that notification bell if you like this content. And here we go. As a child, I remember not having enough money and my parents were always hush-hush about every financial expense. I never really traveled around, went to entertainment venues, or had really nice gifts. And quite frankly, it wasn't a really good childhood because we were penny pinching on every little thing. And I'm still a little bitter from not having the experiences that other kids had at the time. I grew up knowing that I didn't come from money and that money was in short supply and it was really tough to live without money. And this is quite a different perspective from those that didn't lack financial means as a child. But as I started my career and became more established, spending was less and less of a concern for me. Spending that would otherwise be extravagant in my old child self and in my parents' eyes. And that doesn't mean I spend frivolously as from my extreme cheapskate videos. But I definitely learned how to give myself things that promote self-care for my stress and anxieties. And I know that for a big part of my life, I've been lucky and I have the resources that others might not have. By remembering my humble past and carrying it with me into the present, I can remain true to my core self, regardless of my financial situation in the present or in the future. It is through being humble that I can avoid the negative qualities that are attached to being financially stable sometimes. So let's go through some of my tips on how to stay financially rooted to your core self. So here is my guide to being humble. Number 1, you don't need to share. I think that the biggest key to being humble is to not share every single win with people in your life. And definitely don't do so in a way that might make them feel bad. This is definitely hard to gauge sometimes because you don't know what might make people feel bad about themselves. But when you're thinking about saying something to impress people, you might want to hold back and think about it. In most cases, just listening instead of speaking about your wins might be the best case scenario. As I've gotten more resources in my life, I tend to hold back more and not tell people as much as I used to. I just talk about general situations like moving, going to events, or getting a new job. Others can infer where I get my things, but I don't explicitly state it. I just talk about life changes that are normal to anybody's life. But if people specifically ask me about it, I'll tell them. I'm not going to explicitly hide it from them. But sometimes it's definitely hard not to share specific details about a win or a promotion that you just had. But I think at the end of the day, it shouldn't change us as people, whatever shiny new thing that you just got. Ultimately, in the end, they don't care about that object. They should just care about you as a person. So if you can, a big key in staying humble is to celebrate your successes internally and not blast it out into the world at every chance you get. Number 2, the past shaped the present. We are where we are today because of our past. That is an immutable truth. Without our previous experiences that we had in our lives, we are a different person completely. No matter how successful we are at life, we have to remember the roots of where we came from. That gave us the drive to be where we're at today. So we must always have a spiritual link to our past selves. The past is what it is and it tells the story, good or bad, of your life. So part of being humble is connecting with your past self to realize where you came from. I know that I carry echoes of my previous self within me. In many ways, I still carry my cheapskate ways with me wherever I go, even to this day. Even though there's not a really good reason for me to do those things, I still do them because that's who I was in the past. I remind myself that each time I don't spend money on something, that it's from my past self, and that I'm carrying the tradition of what I did before to remember those roots. It may not be always a good or wise thing to buy the cheapest or spend less, but it's something that I'm used to. But I anchor myself to the past regardless of my current successes. So whenever you want to be more humble, think of your past and reflect on your previous self. And look at what you have now versus the past and how different things are for you. You'll really gain an appreciation of the present by looking into your past. Number 3, our flaws are us. Nobody is perfect. It is human to be an imperfect being. Our flaws are what makes us unique to the world. And part of our personality as people is to work and overcompensate for our flaws. And because of that, we as people can truly create some unique things in our lives. No matter how successful you are, it is our flaws that shaped us into who we are today. Because we have to overcome our flaws and we overcompensate for it, and that might give us the drive or the persistence to see something through. Each person has their own strengths and weaknesses, and the more in tune you are with that uniqueness, the better you are at being humble. I can trace a lot of successes in my life to a childhood fear of uncertainty and the anxiety that it caused. There were a lot of times in my childhood that I didn't know what was going to happen in the future. And that created uneasiness within me. And so I worked to overcompensate and correct that for my life. And the consequence of that fear of uncertainty was that I got really good at planning and organization skills. That really helped me prepare for my job as an eventual engineer, in which my daily job is to plan things out and organize tasks. By overcompensating for my flaws, I became successful. As an exercise for you, you can go through a list of your own flaws and see what you can do to overcome them, or have you overcame them in the past. Through this exercise, it also helps us to identify our own weaknesses that even further humbles us. It's quite a humbling experience to figure out what your weaknesses are. But once you identify it, it can be very empowering as well. It doesn't have to be a weakness forever. You can correct it. So at the end of the day, nobody's perfect and you won't be as well. Number 4, be grateful. Regardless of your successes, we all had help from other people at one point in our lives. These people might have helped raise you, get a good school, get a good job, or even find you a spouse. I think that if we have sustained successes, we can delude ourselves into thinking that it was only us that achieved this, not other people that helped us along the way, and that these achievements were driven only by us and no one else. This is really ego-driven and arrogant thinking, and it minimizes the people that helped you in your life. So always be grateful for the people that support you in your goals. I know that in my life, I've gotten help from a lot of people and I wouldn't be here today without their help. Most of the jobs that I've got was through connections with other people in the industry. And even though I had the qualifications for the job, I might not have stood out without his help. And even today with a stressful job, I have a support network in place to help me with that stress, to alleviate it. And I rely on them to support my physical, mental, and emotional well-being. So think about the people that have supported you in the past and present of your life, and be really grateful for their help and how much they've impacted your life to this point. Because this exercise can help you and also humble you in how much help that you've gotten over your lifetime. Being grateful for the people in your life can be a great way to being humble. And number 5, help others. In the same vein of being grateful, help others when you have the resources to support them. By helping others, you not only feel better about giving, but also you can see the contrast between you and the other people that you're helping. And that will bring you a certain humbleness and gratefulness for your own life. This helps you to be really grounded and understand the fortunate position that you are in. This can encompass a wide variety of things, like donating to charity, helping out a friend, or just listening to someone. I remember the first time I did charity work in high school for credit. And since this was the first time I did charity work, I was completely shocked by what I saw there. I went to a local food bank to help people with food insecurities. As most of my classmates helped package foods, I volunteered to deliver food to people's cars. In those hours, I learned so much about the people that I was helping. And even though I didn't have a lot of money, these people had even less than I did. And they were so grateful of all the help that they were getting. It really jarred my world because up until that point, I didn't realize there were so many people that had so much less than I did. So help others whenever you can, ideally in various different things to gain a new perspective in life. From that, you'll be able to gain a humbling experience because sometimes helping others can be a great way to being more humble. So here are my general thoughts on being humble. I focused this video more on being humble in your financial resources rather than the classic definition of just being humble in life. Because I felt that with inflation being so high and a recession looming, that we should focus on what we truly have in our lives financially. And we have to be humble now more than ever about the successes and money that we have because others might not be so lucky. And money, as you all know, can be a very touchy subject for people. Money is a metric of American success, not being humble or nice. It's terrible to think about it in those ways, but here we are, capitalism at its best. And I think that we have to do as much as we can not to alienate people because of what they don't have. and being humble about it is only one step in that direction. So those are my tips on how to stay humble and connect with your financial roots. If we were lucky enough to escape wherever we are in childhood to a financially stable present, we are lucky. But that kind of success over a long period of time can go to our head and feed our egos if we're not carefully managing it. And this in turn can alienate people if we're not being humble about it. But not only that, it can ruin your drive, method, and social connections that got you there in the first place. So with a few key tips, you can reconnect with your past and stay humble in the present. So the main keys are: don't habitually share your wins, be grateful, and help others. So hopefully with these tips, you're on a more humble path in life. So thank you for watching. Please leave me a comment down below on what do you do to stay humble and how has that helped you in the present. Until next time.